Imagine walking into a place where you're immediately judged not by your words, not by your character, but by your appearance. That's exactly what happened to an elderly black man at a high-end car dealership. He entered with the simple intention of buying a car, but what he faced instead was mockery and disrespect. The staff didn't see a customer. They saw someone who, in their eyes, didn't belong. They laughed at his modest clothes, whispered behind his back, and treated him as though he was invisible. But little did they know this man's story was far bigger than their assumptions. This isn't just about discrimination. It's about what happens when resilience meets opportunity. When someone takes the negativity thrown their way and uses it to turn the tables entirely. This is a story of quiet strength and a powerful comeback, one that would leave an unforgettable mark on the very people who underestimated him. Picture a car dealership that radiates luxury, the kind of place where gleaming high-end vehicles are arranged in neat rows under brilliant showroom lights. Polished floors reflect every detail, and soft ambient music adds an air of exclusivity. Sales representatives dressed sharply in tailored suits navigate between customers with confident smiles, offering handshakes and warm greetings. This dealership is bustling, filled with affluent buyers who exude success. Men in tailored jackets discuss engine specifications, while women in designer handbags glance at price tags without flinching. It's clear that this is a space where wealth speaks loudly and appearances matter. Then, through the glass doors, an elderly black man walks in. His clothes are plain, a simple jacket and worn shoes. There's no flashiness to his arrival, no grand entrance, but his demeanor says everything. He carries himself with a quiet kindness, a soft confidence that hints at years of wisdom and experience. His eyes light up as he looks around, genuinely interested in finding the perfect car. Despite the modesty of his appearance, he belongs there just as much as anyone else. He moves with a purpose, browsing the sleek models and asking thoughtful questions. Yet, his reception couldn't be more different from the one extended to the other customers. To the staff, he doesn't look like a typical buyer for these luxury cars. The polished smiles and respectful greetings that others receive aren't offered to him. Instead, he's met with side glances and whispers. Salespeople seem hesitant to approach their faces, betraying assumptions that have nothing to do with his intent or his ability to buy. Still, the man remains calm and composed. He doesn't flinch at the cold treatment, nor does he let it deter him from his goal. Little do they know this unassuming visitor is about to turn their world upside down. As the elderly black man browsed the showroom, his excitement was met with cold indifference. He approached one of the sales staff with a polite smile, asking about a sleek luxury car that had caught his eye. But instead of receiving the courteous attention every customer deserved, he was brushed off with a curt response. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" one salesman muttered under his breath, loud enough for his colleagues to hear. A few stifled laughs followed. The man ignored the comment, trying to focus on his questions. He asked about the car's features, its performance, but his genuine curiosity only seemed to amuse them further. Another staff member smirked as he leaned over to his coworker and whispered, "Does he even know how much these cars cost?" They exchanged glances, chuckling quietly, as though the man's presence was some kind of joke. The man didn't raise his voice or show any anger. He simply stood there, his questions met with dismissive answers or patronizing tones. Each word spoken to him carried an undercurrent of mockery, as if he was wasting their time. To them, he didn't look like someone who belonged in a place filled with luxury vehicles. His modest appearance overshadowed his quiet determination. The humiliation hung heavy in the air, but he remained composed. After several failed attempts to engage with the staff respectfully, the man realized his efforts were futile. The laughter, the whispers, and the looks, they weren't going to stop. Silently, he turned and walked out of the dealership, his shoulders slightly heavier than when he walked in. What the sales team failed to see was the resolve growing within him. This wasn't the end of his story. It was only the beginning. As the man walked away from the dealership, his quiet demeanor hid the storm of emotions brewing within. Humiliation, anger, and disappointment might have crossed his mind, but they weren't the end of the story. What no one in that room realized was the depth of this man's accomplishments. Far from the assumptions made about him, he was a self-made entrepreneur. Decades of hard work, resilience, and sharp business acumen had built him a legacy of success. His portfolio was diverse real estate investments and a thriving chain of businesses. Financially, he could buy not just a car, but the entire dealership without breaking a sweat. But it wasn't about showing off or proving a point. For him, it was about making a statement that respect and dignity should never be conditional. And so, as he reflected on the experience, an idea began to form. He wouldn't let this incident slide. He would transform it into an opportunity to teach a lesson about humility and fairness. He wasted no time. That very evening, he contacted the dealership's owner, a seasoned businessman who wasn't involved in the daily operations. A quick negotiation followed. The elderly man's offer was too compelling to refuse, and with the financial backing to close the deal instantly, the paperwork moved swiftly. By the next day, the deal was sealed. The elderly man, once mocked and dismissed, was now the proud owner of the very establishment where he had been disrespected. This wasn't just a business acquisition for him. It was a powerful moment of justice. And soon those who had judged him so harshly would come to realize just how wrong they had been. The next day, the dealership hummed with its usual energy. Salespeople stood at their posts, ready to greet well-dressed customers, completely unaware of the storm heading their way. Through the same glass doors he had walked out of the previous day, the elderly man returned. This time, he wasn't here as a potential customer. He was their new boss. He entered with the same quiet demeanor, but now the weight of his presence was undeniable. He was accompanied by the dealership's former owner, who introduced him to the staff. "Meet your new employer," the owner announced, his voice calm but firm. The room froze. The same employees who had laughed and whispered behind his back the day before now stood in stunned silence. The disbelief on their faces was almost palpable. Some shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact, while others looked on in shock, their previous arrogance dissolving into unease. The elderly man stood before them composed and dignified. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady but filled with purpose. Yesterday, I came here as a customer. I came with the intention of buying a car and was met with mockery instead of service. Many of you judged me based on how I looked, assuming I didn't belong here. But appearances can be deceiving. He paused, letting his words sink in. The staff listened intently, their expressions a mix of guilt and regret. I am not here to humiliate anyone. I'm here to teach a lesson. In this business or in any part of life, every person deserves respect, no matter how they're dressed, no matter where they come from. Treating someone with dignity costs nothing, but can mean everything. His words were clear and impactful, cutting through the tension in the room. This dealership is under new management now. And under my leadership, the first rule is simple. Treat every customer as though they are the most important person to walk through those doors. Because in truth they are. The room remained silent, the gravity of the moment hanging in the air. The elderly man had not only claimed ownership of the dealership, but had also earned their respect in a way that no one could ignore. This wasn't just a story about wealth or status. It was a reminder of the power of humility, integrity, and the simple act of treating people right. This story is a timeless reminder. Never judge a book by its cover. Everyone we meet carries a story we don't see, and appearances often hide the true depth of a person. The elderly man's experience at the dealership shows how prejudice can blind us, but his actions prove the strength of dignity, humility, and resilience. Let this serve as a lesson for all of us. Treating others with respect and kindness is not just the right thing to do. It's a reflection of our own character. When we choose to approach every interaction with an open mind and a compassionate heart, we contribute to a world where fairness and equality can thrive. This man's bold decision to rise above the mistreatment he faced not only turned the tables, but also inspired a powerful change in those around him. It's a reminder that one person's actions rooted in integrity can ripple outward and make a difference. If this story inspired you or gave you something to think about, let us know by hitting the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that uplift, motivate, and remind us of the power of humanity. Thank you for watching.